Jules Vaughn is one of the most fascinating characters to come out of modern television, not just because of her style or her confidence, but because everything about her feels like a psychological puzzle wrapped in bright colors, glitter, and soft femininity. On the surface, she seems easy to understand, a teenage girl who dresses in pastel colors, always experimenting with makeup, always expressing herself through an aesthetic that mixes innocence with rebellion. But when you look a little deeper, you begin to see that Jules is not simply choosing an aesthetic. Her hyperfemininity is a language. It is something she uses to speak to the world when words fail her. It is protection, expression, rebellion, and sometimes pure emotion. To understand Jules, you have to understand what her femininity means to her. And that is where her psychology becomes truly interesting. Jules' hyperfeminine style is the first thing people notice, but what they do not always see is the emotional history behind it. Her relationship with femininity is shaped by her past, her trauma, her need for control, and her desire to define herself in a world that constantly tries to define her. From a young age, Jules understood that the world did not see her for who she was. She had to carve out her identity piece by piece, trying things, changing things, pushing the boundaries of what people expected from her. For many people, clothes are just clothes. For Jules, clothes become a shield and a declaration. When she dresses in soft colors and flowing fabrics, she is not simply trying to look pretty. She is using femininity as a tool to take back the power she once felt she didn't have. Her femininity becomes both a story and a survival strategy. To Jules, hyperfemininity is partly armor. Growing up, she felt vulnerable, misunderstood, and sometimes invisible. So she learned to build a version of herself that felt strong, even if it looked delicate. Her pastel clothes, glittery makeup, and soft voice become a kind of protective shell. When she presents herself in a hyperfeminine way, she controls how others perceive her. She creates a barrier between her inner emotional world and the outside world that can be harsh and judgmental. Many people assume hyperfemininity is weak, shallow, or childish. Jules flips that expectation. She uses it as a mask that hides her anxieties and fears, and the world sees the confident, artistic girl she wants them to see. Her appearance becomes a kind of emotional armor, one that keeps her from feeling exposed. But Jules' femininity is also deeply authentic. It is not just a shell she hides in. It is something she genuinely feels connected to. Her style reflects her inner sense of identity, and she uses it to express the version of herself that feels the most true. For Jules, femininity is not a stereotype or a performance for others. It is a way of shaping her identity on her own terms. She loves the softness, the creativity, the beauty of dressing in a way that makes her feel whole. Her aesthetic becomes a mirror of her inner emotions. When she experiments with makeup, she is not only decorating her face, she is painting her feelings. When she puts on an outfit, she is building a version of herself that matches how she sees her own spirit. Her femininity is as much an expression of freedom as it is a defense mechanism. At the same time, Jules' hyperfeminine style is an aesthetic she enjoys exploring. She often treats her appearance like an art project, pushing the boundaries of color, texture, and style. She mixes innocence with edginess, softness with boldness, and minimalism with chaos. Her style becomes a form of creativity that helps her cope with the complicated emotions in her life. In a world where she often feels out of control, her aesthetic choices give her something she can shape, adjust, and reinvent whenever she needs to. Fashion becomes a way of rewriting her story day by day. It gives her the freedom to experiment with who she is and who she wants to become. Her hyperfemininity is not just psychological, it is artistic. The psychology behind Jules' hyperfemininity also reveals how she navigates fear and desire. Jules often uses femininity to make herself feel safe in situations that might otherwise scare her. She chooses softness because softness calms her. She chooses beauty because beauty makes her feel powerful. Her hyperfeminine look becomes a way to navigate dangerous emotional spaces, like relationships where she feels unsure or moments where she fears rejection. By controlling her aesthetic, she feels more prepared to face the parts of life that are unpredictable. Her style becomes a stabilizer, something that grounds her when her emotions feel like they're spinning. Jules' femininity is also shaped by her environment. In a world that constantly labels people, she uses hyperfemininity to push back against those labels. She knows that people will judge her no matter what, so she chooses to lean fully into who she wants to be instead of who people want her to be. This rebellious energy is part of what makes her hyperfeminine style so bold. She refuses to let the world shape her identity for her. Instead, She uses her aesthetic to reclaim her narrative. Every outfit becomes a declaration of independence. Every makeup choice becomes a reminder that she has the right to define herself. Her hyperfemininity also plays a key role in her relationships. It affects how she connects with people, how she feels loved, and how she expresses affection. With Rue, for example, Jules' femininity becomes a gentle language of comfort and companionship, but it also becomes a way for her to avoid revealing her deeper fears and insecurities. Her appearance helps her feel confident and safe, but sometimes it also becomes a wall between her true feelings and the people she cares about. Jules wants to be understood, but she is scared to be fully seen. Her femininity becomes a negotiation between these two desires. There are moments in her story where she questions her own aesthetic. She wonders if she is performing femininity for others or for herself. She wonders if she is hiding behind it or expressing her identity honestly. These questions show how complicated hyperfemininity can be. For many people, femininity is either real or fake, either deep or shallow. But for Jules, it is all of these things at the same time. It is real because it expresses her true self. It is a performance because all identities involve some form of presentation. It is armor because it protects her. It is art because she enjoys creating it. And it is healing because it helps her survive her emotional struggles. Jules' hyperfemininity teaches us that identity is never simple. It is never one thing. It is always layered, shifting, and influenced by our emotions and experiences. Jules shows that femininity is not something you are born with. It is something you build, shape, and carry. It can be powerful, vulnerable, expressive, or protective. And sometimes it is all these things at once. Her relationship with femininity reflects her relationship with herself. When she feels strong, her style becomes bold. When she feels fragile, her style becomes soft. Her aesthetic grows with her, changes with her, and helps her navigate the difficult process of becoming who she is meant to be. In the end, the psychology of Jules Vaughn is a reminder that appearance is never just appearance. Her hyperfemininity is a map of her inner world, her fears, her growth, her freedom, her longing, her creativity, and her trauma. It is a form of self-expression that allows her to survive, to communicate, and to dream. Whether you see her femininity as armor, authenticity, or aesthetic, the truth is that it is all three. And that complexity is what makes her such a powerful, unforgettable character.